Ahoy, friends. It's me, Dave Landau. After a long night on stage, I like to kick back with a captain's hat and a fine cigar and watch the Dennis and Andy show. These guys are huge nerds, but they're the kind that you actually want to hang out with. Enjoy them. I do.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Dennis and Andy Show.
Bip bip cheerio, I must say, old chap. Since he's got his corncob pipe.
This is not corncob. I'm the Sherlock. He is my Watson. Welcome to the show.
The real brains behind the operations. Don't let those books fool you.
That might be the case, but Sherlock got the ladies and has all the charisma, so I'll take the Sherlock role.
Oh,
any day of the
go.
week.
Well,
I'm like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes. I kick ass, get the ladies, and deduce everything.
There you go. You can tell it's Wednesday. I am feeling better. I am back in the studio, and we are ready to go at it.
I had him walk through the door and take a COVID test before he entered my domicile to make sure he didn't have any of the ickies, and he doesn't. So he is back to health, thank God. It was touch and go for a minute there. And when I mean touch and go, I mean him touching himself and going. So I'm glad he kept that at home.
Oh, always got to go there right away, don't you, Andy?
I don't know what you mean.
But it is a Wednesday. We are glad to be back. It has been an exciting week behind the scenes, dealing with a lot of the Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro / blowing up the module stuff. So that'll be a whole thing. We might talk about that next week. I might wind up doing a live stream. But anyway, today...
Well, don't get worried. The module's not going anywhere.
Oh, no.
So don't take blowing up as in it's good. The Kor-Drath module is not going anywhere. Do not worry about that.
It's just all the behind the scenes stuff that we need to do because of nasty old Hasbro. But with that being said,
let's welcome some people to the show. Randy Howell.
Who was first? Was it Randy? Of course it was Randy.
Randy's always first.
He's the best.
Blackjack, Grey Wolf, Joseph Dredd, Leg Kick. I can't make that one out, so I'll just show it like this. Let's get this party started. Oh, One Slick Dude. You are. Micra, hello. Marcus is in the house. Space Wizard. We're so far away from Hank, hello. JP Roca, Kevin Thomas. My God, lots of people. Stat Zero is in the house. Oh, what's he saying? Big comment. Hey, I get to see a Dennis and Andy show live again. And Kelsey and the chat are here too. That's a good stream right there. It is. So, and you brought it up. So without further ado, we'll bring in the guy that I pulled these out just for the show. That's right. Jungle Comics, written by Chuck Dixon, drawn by Kelsey, and Barack Panther and the Tremendous Trump, written and drawn by Mr. Kelsey Shannon.
Which is awesome because I was just saying, of all the conventions and all the shops and everything that I buy, I have never seen this comic physically. So this is the first time I've held it. I will be reading it.
That's right. He's taking it home tonight to read. And it is Kelsey. Hello.
Hello.
There he is.
Welcome,
By the way,
Andy
the
and
ending
Dennis,
of
to
this,
my show. Hello.
The ending of this, I loved it. Do you remember the ending?
Yes, I do. And it's like if people read it, they'd be talking a lot more about it because like we basically take the piss out of the whole thing. Well, that's all Chuck. That ain't me.
Right. Oh, I know. But it was great. So yeah, he's going to take both those home to read. So they were.
Well, I've just got to say something, by the way. New Sherlock didn't get the girls. New what's the new Watson got the girls. So there you go.
Wait, what Sherlock are we
Well,
talking
in
about?
the new movies, like he got all them girls killed. Like you never got the girl.
Oh, the Robert Downey Jr. ones?
You're
I don't
right, right.
remember.
And new what's his face?
Benedict
Watson.
Cumberbatch?
New Watson got it.
Oh, right, yeah, because they actually had Watson played by
Jude Law.
yes. So they had him played by, somebody that could actually get the girls.
Like me. So
Yes.
that makes perfect sense. Thank you for bringing that out. I
just had to clarify.
appreciate that. Mic drop.
That's a little bit of a stretch. A little bit of a stretch.
The modern take.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're like one of the few. We were talking about the the Black Panther thing. You're one of the few people that have actually read that, which is it gives me quite a thrill because I enjoy doing those. But immediately people see it and they think, oh, it's going to be one-sided, political junk. But it's like, man, I was having fun with that. I was doing a Black Panther comic. But
well plus you found out we didn't know it, but at the end, because it says in the back of the book, it says Red Triumph, and then apparently the other one, which we don't have, says Blue Triumph. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure where you get your alternate endings. So you really need both of them, and that way you could tell a very fun, balanced story.
I'm right where you should be, right in the middle of the road where traffic can kind of weave around you.
Yeah.
Isn't that the safest place to be, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. But no, I like I said, when it came out, the first thing is your homage cover with Batman and the Hulk.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I got to pick this up just for that.
Oh,
and then it was a fun little read. So
I even got your little after JL, GL,
oh, yeah.
GLGL, whatever.
Yep, it's right there.
One of my absolute favorite artists.
Oh yeah.
What prompted you to do that book? Because that's just a fun one and a bit of a hot topic.
Well, I mean, I had my friend Brian Denham, who he's a publisher or the editor in chief or something like that over at Antarctic Press. Mm-hmm. And he was like, we got, they were dabbling in political satire, just being goofy, not really one side or another, just, putting out fun comics and just, letting people do their own thing. And he was like, we want to do this Black Panther. And I just thought, oh, that sounds like fun, just the idea of doing Black Panther. But, it's like, man, I wonder if I could write a parody or a satire of a figure like Obama and like not only make him cool, but poke fun at him a little bit as well. And like, just try to do something a little more fun than political.
Right.
And so I just looked at it as a challenge, and I ended up doing 3 of them. That one is the third one. I think.
Oh, okay.
There might be another one after that where I actually I make Joe Biden an alien at the end. It's a Men in Black parody, and it's Black Panther and eventually Joe Biden as the 2 Men in Black, and Biden ends up being an alien, and I think I even say he's going to be president. And this was long before all of this.
Oh, so it's your fault.
It might be my fault. I predicted it in a shitty comic book.
Kelsey Nostradamus. That's what we're going with.
But it's a lot of fun. Like, just if you get a chance to see them, I'd love to hear what you think, because those are some of my first writing efforts.
Oh no, I'm going to track him down. I remember, like I said, I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I might have got this in San Diego because I remember going to the booth, and I remember seeing the Black Panthers because one of the covers was the takeoff on the Byrne cover, wasn't it? The famous Byrne Black Panther cover where he's crouching.
Yeah, that one was done by Brian Denham. Yeah. So he was doing those homage covers. Yeah.
But is that the one that you did the inside to?
Yeah.
And that was a variant? Okay.
Yeah. I wrote and drew and colored that one. And then it was, there might be another one in there. So I think it's that one, the Black Panther, and then the Black Panther versus Tremendous Trump. And then there's the Men in Black parody, which is Oh man, I forget what it's called. Brack and Black. Yeah, it's BIB. Brack and Black.
Man, I think I remember seeing all that stuff. So, damn,
Well,
yeah, I am
it's
going to have to
interesting because
look
I'm
at
not
those.
political at all. So, like, half the stuff in that book I had to like go read about first.
Right, right.
But
What is
they're
this?
just fun comics.
Jeff
What, Jeff
Beck?
Beck?
Is that
What?
true?
I don't know.
The
I don't
guitar
know.
player or the baseball player?
I don't know.
I don't
I did well, when we were doing the Kings Monday night, somebody posted about was it that actor from Eight Is Enough that died,
Adam Rich.
Adam Rich,
Oh, yeah.
and then Diamond from Diamond and Silk died.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, I didn't
Oh,
know
you didn't hear that?
No. Wow.
It was like 2 days ago, and she was only 51.
Wow, man. Yeah, that's pretty shocking, actually.
Here in
How did
North
they-
Carolina too.
No, it is Jeff Beck, the god who influenced generations, dies at 78 years old.
Wow.
Meningitis.
Yeah, some great albums. Yeah, that guy, right? The guitar player, right? Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn. I didn't know he was 78. Holy
Marcus
crap.
Conger says he saw him in concert. Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, is he the one that did wow 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 wow? You know that guy? Wow 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 wow. You remember how he like would talk with his guitar?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That wasn't Jeff Beck. That was
I don't know.
I forget.
I honestly, I just don't remember. I had no idea it was 78. So
I know comic books and movies, like that's it. And then music, I know, like I could sing it if I'm listening to it, and then I couldn't tell you who wrote it or any of that stuff. Oh, Peter Frampton did the yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go. That's the nice thing about the chat. They can tell you all that stuff. When the professionals last night, I recommended the movie and I couldn't remember the name of it. So I said, I know somebody in the chat will, and like within 5 minutes they did. And I still don't remember the name, but it was the movie where Nicolas Cage played himself that came out last year.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No, I didn't. But I
The unbearable weight one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, you got to see it. If you like Nicolas Cage.
I love him. He's my favorite. Yeah.
It's a funny movie.
Okay, good.
He
What's
makes
it called?
you can just tell he makes fun of himself. He's not taking it serious. It's so good.
Chat knows everything, man. I want to like sometimes I like to test whether or not they're really plugged into my brain where I can just go, what's that movie with that guy? And just see if they think of it, like think of something and see if they get it. Like if we're all on the same wavelength, let's see how close it is,
Yeah. We had that happen one night when Aaron hosts the professionals. He'll sometimes do a game show for us. Obviously he's the host. And I can't remember which one it was. It was last year, but it was Art's turn to go and Art picked the category. And I think Aaron got like 2 words out of his mouth of the question and Art just answers it. And we're like, is that right? Aaron's like, yes, it is. And we're like, what the?
It's like that game, the quiz show all over again. He gave him the answers ahead of time,
That's right.
Yes.
Look,
Stat
Brian
Zero
Blevins
actually
says
did it.
Logan's
It says
Run.
it's the unbearable weight of massive talent.
That's it.
And
Oh,
again,
okay.
these guys are so quick. And Brian Blevins was asking, you didn't like his Brendan Fraser winner of the 2023 choice? And then it says Logan's Run.
Yeah, Logan's Run is the one I was thinking of. So he's right on my wavelength.
Oh.
Yeah, love Logan's Run.
No, wait, what was he saying about Brendan Fraser? I like Brendan Fraser.
He's got.
In
that
fact,
new
they were
fat
saying,
guy movie.
Brendan Fraser said he would not go to the Golden Globes.
Right.
He will not go to them because of something that happened with him. And he said he was groped or some crap back, way back when. And obviously the groping ties to the Golden Globe somehow. So he's like, no, man, I'm not going to that damn thing. And he was nominated for Best Actor for The Whale.
Right.
And he didn't win. The actor that played Elvis did.
Oh,
and
interesting.
Nothing against the actor that played. I mean, we saw Elvis.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It
you see The Whale?
was gaudy. It was brash. It was
Baz
all right.
Luhrmann, typical Baz Luhrmann, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Well, I love Brendan Fraser. I mean, I'd love to. He did win something, right, at Cannes or like something else. He did
For The
win
Whale?
something. Yeah,
Or-
I think so.
Yeah, I think he has won some stuff for The Whale. It's a movie I definitely want to see. It's not one. I mean, it is playing in theaters here, but that's how it is. That's one of those movies.
I'll wait.
It's a drama. It's nothing you have to go see it on the big screen to get.
Yeah, it ain't Top Gun. I can wait.
No, it's not Top Gun. Which one are you pointing?
Groping Globes. Kevin.
That's right. It's
The
Groping
Groping
Globes.
Globes.
The Groping Globes. Yeah, I
Yep.
actually just bought Top Gun.
Did you really?
Yep. I have not seen it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
I have not seen it yet. I actually did not go out to the theaters.
Oh my! It's
so
a
I'm pretty
treat.
excited. Yeah.
You got
pretty
the 4K version, right?
Oh, I don't have a 4K TV. I can't even see 4K, so it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. I don't have a 4K TV. Mr. Braggadocious over here.
Braggadocious. I'm just
4K.
saying, if there's a movie, oh my god, I specifically bought that
Come
just
on.
for that.
Come on,
good
doesn't
one.
everybody have a 4K 85-inch TV in their
All
living room?
Before
No,
I
Dennis,
watch it,
we
go
don't
get
have a
mine.
theater in our living room.
Yeah. I'm not sure I
Wow.
got room enough for that size of TV. It'll be right here in front of my face. Like, oh yeah, this is great.
Exactly.
Ah,
Dude, have you ever sat in the front row to watch a
Yeah.
movie in a theater?
yeah.
Okay, the original Spider-Man, we were living down in Texas. We went in there. My kids wanted to see it when we were down there. We were in San Antonio. And then all of a sudden we're like, well, we can get into an IMAX right now. They had 4 seats open, so we took them. We didn't care.
All front.
Seats A1 through 4. We sat up right on there. Spider-Man swinging, and it's the big curved
You
one.
actually
They got
go,
two sides.
Wait,
And
oh
you're
my God,
literally
look at him swing.
watching him swing by, you're whipping your head. I'm like, yeah, I can't ever do that again.
No. I saw,
It's like Wimbledon.
yeah, dude, I've only seen one movie in the front row. And after that, I was like, I'm never doing this again. It was Total Recall.
Oh my God.
And we were in the front row, almost dead center in the front row. I mean, it was sold out. And I was just like, this sucks because you are. It's like tennis. You have to do this.
Was
Yeah.
it the old one from the 80s? The old one or 90s? No, it was the 80s.
Yeah, it was the Schwarzenegger one.
Schwarzenegger.
That was
Okay,
what,
yeah.
87, 88, something like that.
Man,
Yeah.
that's a good one. I would have watched
And
that.
it is, man. You got to just do this the whole movie. It's not enjoyable at all.
The other one I got in the front one, it was Star Trek 6, and they're launching their torpedoes, and it goes lock on that explosion and fire. And all of a sudden you're watching and your head's whipping as the torpedoes are going by. And my kids are like, Dad.
Yeah. I was just thinking of like Schwarzenegger starting a punch at that end and like ending over here.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you get the feeling of the movement, that's for sure, because you're doing
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah, I saw
That's awesome.
what's that movie with the Outbreak? I saw Outbreak like at the front at the very edge, so like everything was stretched at an angle. Yes. Good times.
oh man, I remember that movie.
That was a good
That was,
movie. I like that movie.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. We're actually tomorrow night we're gonna go see, is it pronounced Megan? It's pronounced Megan.
Megan, or is it M. But
Yeah.
yes,
One
the new Bloom horror PG-13 horror movie.
Wait a second,
So-
it's PG-13.
It's PG-13
Oh.
for a Bloomhouse. I was like, what?
That's what.
So I think because it's a January, they're trying to get a little more audience. So I bet they cut down on the violence and swearing and blood. But, the trailer looks interesting enough. Is she the new Chucky? Isn't she? We'll
I
find
doubt
out
it.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope maybe. Well, cross your fingers that it's a good that I was dying to see that guy James Wan did that last movie that had the what is it, the twin, the conjoined twin, the woman whose killer was like, you remember that? I could be spoiling it right now, but I heard it was nuts. Like
Right now I'm trying to think how.
Malignant.
Oh, I never did see that.
I heard it was
No.
nuts.
Did you see Malignant?
No.
You didn't see Malignant? I'm surprised actually, because that's right up your alley.
It is. I mean, why didn't I? There
I
had to be a reason. I did not see it either.
It came out during COVID or something. I don't know, but I've been dying to see it. And then this is by the same crew. So I'm like, and you see that doll dancing and stuff. I'm like, oh, they got to go crazy with this. But knowing that it's like PG-13, it's like, man.
That really took I got to be honest, I didn't know that. And that kind of took the wind out of I mean, we're still going to see it, But that kind of took the wind out of my sails.
Right, because you just expect there to be a certain cutting edge with those kind of... But we are walking into it assuming it's kind of Chucky-ish.
Well,
and
yeah,
maybe it's not. Maybe it'll throw us for a curveball and we'll get done and say, wow, that was really cool. Or we might come back and go, guys, stinker. It could be like The Menu, where we don't agree whatsoever on that movie.
Well, like, I'm not afraid of like killer kid movies at all. Like, they bore me, you know, but the idea of like killer AI in a robot, that's terrifying. So like, oh man, they gotta milk that kind of idea where it's like this in this guise of innocence, you know, but it can wield an axe stronger than any full-grown man, you know. That's terrifying.
Right.
Well, the thing that I like, well, I'm kind of looking forward to when I saw the trailer is, I don't know how they made it, but I'm assuming they just used the real actress for that Megan character and then CG'd the face to get the bigger eyes and stuff.
Oh, probably. That's how they do that Avatar stuff. So
yeah, that's so right. I'm hoping
Alita Battle Angel.
Right. Battle Angel is that way.
That was good. I like that one.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't do better. It was better than I was expecting.
Yeah, look at this, Brian Blevins.
Hey.
Whoa, Andy Smith. One of you didn't like The Menu? It would be this guy.
I love The Menu. It was my second favorite movie of the entire year.
What was first favorite? Top Gun?
Yep, it was. It was just... I mean, I've seen Top Gun 4 times now, Maverick 4 times, and one of my friends went and saw it. They've got the Children's Center. They have an IMAX, but it's the Dome IMAX. So they went and saw it in it, and like the flight scenes, it is literally above you, where you are looking up and you're seeing the sky all around you. And they were like, "There's no experience like that movie in that type of IMAX." And that was only there 1 week. Otherwise, I would have paid to go see it in that.
They had one of those in Dallas. I used to love going to that one because they're like, you know, even when back then they didn't have movies, they would just show like, you know, trips around the world from the air, you know, and you're just like, whoa.
Well, that was it. Like before IMAX, because none of these theaters are really true IMAX with the curved screen and shit. They're just huge screens.
Yeah.
With better sound.
Great.
Because,
sound, though,
you know, we have a place downtown for kids called Discovery Place that has an IMAX theater that's like in the round like that and stuff. But you're right. They show the stuff like, you know, Deep Space and shit like that.
Oh yeah.
But then they'll show occasionally like a real movie like that in there. It's fantastic. Hey, Brian, The Menu was really well done. You'll have to go back and check out our video and watch us argue over this because it was a classic one. And
you'll walk away agreeing with all my points.
Not a single person has agreed with you yet. Maybe Kelsey will. Maybe you finally get it.
Is that the one with who's that actor? He was in Schindler's List. Who am I thinking of? Plays a chef.
It's Ralph Fiennes. He's Anna Taylor-Joy.
I believe it's Ray Fiennes.
Well,
Ray.
Ralph Fiennes.
Oh my God, disrespect.
Ralph is his American equivalent. Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Yeah, okay. I love Ralph Fiennes. I will stick with Dennis on this. I
like him too. I thought he was fine in it. The movie just didn't do anything for me.
If you do get to watch it, just DM us and just let us know what you thought. But I have gotten a bunch of people that have DM'd and they're like, dude, that was a great movie. Everybody has loved it. Except for Andy, who somehow thinks he's in the majority.
I'm going to DM you and be like, I'm with you fellers.
I don't have to be in the majority to know I'm right.
Yep,
I just am.
That's what you say every math test.
If somebody puts up a DVD of The Menu and a DVD of Green Lantern, Menu's out the window, I'm going to watch Green Lantern all the time.
See, Mark's there. Menu was a great movie. Andy's crazy. Right, Andy? It is crazy Andy. That's right. Or no taste Andy. Maybe he had COVID and lost his taste buds, and that includes for movies.
No. Good Lord.
So Kelsey got to ask, because, first time on our show, we always have to hit up our new guests. You do comic books, but not everybody knows you. So as an introduction, tell us your origin story. How did you get into comics?
I got into comics like it's in the 90s when everything, comics were like everywhere you looked. It was in 7-Elevens, it was in stores, it was everywhere. Button fly jeans commercials with Rob Liefeld. And I'm like, I didn't know people drew them until I saw that commercial. And I'd seen them every now and then. So, and this was right when I was getting into high school or getting out of high school. And, you're faced with that, I started getting obsessed with them, Image Comics and all that. And once you get toward the end of high school, you're starting to wonder what you're going to do, and I really wanted to make movies and do that kind of thing, but I had no idea how to get there. But I knew that comics was something I could possibly do. And Antarctic Press was in San Antonio, and I lived in Dallas. So I would just cold call them and like try to get there. And then started working on let's see. Oh no, before that, gosh, man. See, it's such a blur. Remember I was telling you I was reconstructing my history, because it all kind of.
So real quick, after high school, did you have no formal art training or anything, just high school and that's it?
No, well, see, like I said, in those times, the comics were everywhere. So we had a comic convention in Dallas every weekend. Yeah. Every weekend there was some little show going on at the airport, or then there'll be like once a month there'll be like the giant ones. And so I used to just go to every one of them and show my artwork, and I get feedback from like Larry Stroman back in the day. It was great.
Oh, cool.
And so I felt like and then I just like got a job with Hart D. Fisher. He showed up on do you remember Hart Fisher? Boneyard Press? He was at one of the shows, and he actually gave me one of my first gigs. I did a pinup in the back of one of the comics that he was doing. And so that might have been the absolute first thing that ever got printed. And then from there, I got another gig on an indie book called Template. It's a guy that I used to go to his comic book shop in Dallas called Kaboom Comics and stuff. And he sold his store and made his own comic book company. And then I saw him like years later. I used to win his art contests and stuff he'd have at the store. And then years later, I saw him at a convention, and he was doing his book, and he gave me like my first story job in Template number 5. And wow. Yeah, just really cool. Got the I think he inked it, or maybe somebody else. I don't remember, but and from there it just like I got a job at Antarctic Press as an inker, because apparently I had a gift for inking, and didn't know that brush inking was like a big deal, and apparently it was. It's like that's all I had, so I just learned how to use it well. Yeah. And got a job as an inker, and moved to San Antonio with Brian Denham. Actually, he started doing what was it? Oh God, what was that book's name? It was Warrior Nun. You remember Warrior Nun? Warrior Nun. Yeah, those are crazy times, man. Warrior Nun. He was doing Warrior Nun. I was I think I ended up drawing Shotgun Mary for a minute. And then it just kind of kept going. I just never stopped. So it just went on to shoosh, man. I don't even know. I got a lot of stuff. I did a long tour as an inker in the indies and stuff, and then I went to animation, and I got a job at working on Jimmy Neutron.
Oh no way!
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you still in Texas?
Yeah, I was still in Texas then, but I was real disillusioned with the whole thing. I really wanted to do comics. Like I just didn't want to be like another guy drawing stupid-headed little characters, and it's like I wanted to draw like cool stuff. It's like, can we scrap this animation and do something cool? And they're like, no, this is what we're being paid for. So, so I left, and at the time the internet was starting to get real big, and we had, I was on a message board by Shane Glines. He did a message board.
Oh yeah, I know him. Well, I don't know him, but I know who he is. Yeah.
Well, everybody was on that message board back in the day. Adi Granov.
Was he really?
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think of even guys who were established, like Mike Oming. And I knew who Mike Oming was because I was into like Ship of Fools and like his Judge Dredd thing that he did. And so I was following him, and I saw his name there. And I was like, and I was working on Jimmy Neutron. I was like, man, I just want to do comics. And I'm like, hey, what do you, I knew he was doing powers and other stuff. I was like, hey, can I show you my stuff? And he's like, sure. And sent him my work, and he was like, I got 2 books I want to do right now. You pick one of them, and he just immediately gave me a job. And
What was it?
it was Bastard Samurai.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So that was my first real kind of hit and a real introduction into the comic book industry, because it was with Mike Oming and my friend Miles Gunter, who was in Dallas. It's funny. He's like, I've been wanting to work with this writer, and turns out he's in your neighborhood. So we met at like some anime con in Dallas and started working together. And Bastard Samurai was such a great experience, and it still pays dividends, because like there's a great band, metal band called High on Fire, that made a song for Bastard Samurai.
No way.
It still has a legacy that continues. It's really wild. So, but yeah, from that point, I got into Wildstorm and DC, and I did a stint at Gaijin Studios, hanging out with those guys. That was more like a internship, though. I was not on their level, man. So like I look back on it like, I was part of Gaijin, but it's like, well, no, I learned a lot, and I'm very thankful that I got to be there at all with those guys. I mean, Brian Stelfreeze and Adam Hughes and Karl Story and Dean Walsh, and they're just also fantastic. I feel very privileged to be there. But that paid huge dividends. Just being a part of Gaijin Studios, I was being invited to conventions, and I could, just jobs would just come from DC. I didn't have to try at all. Just the name value of Gaijin Studios, and man, if you're with them, you mean business. So I had just lots of great opportunities that I threw away, all of them.
Well, Mark's asking if you ever worked with Shelby Robertson at Arctic Press.
No, it's so funny. That guy gets around. I never worked with Shelby. But I'm not even sure what he did. That's so funny. I don't know. Do you know what he did?
I actually don't know what he did over there either.
Well, I know even Dave Johnson started at Antarctic Press. Well, I don't know if he started there, but that's some of his first work was with Antarctic.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, I think that was his first published work.
Dave's is really?
Yeah, Dave Johnson.
Huh. I always thought his first stuff was Super Patriot.
No. In fact, he did a.
Oh no! Actually, wait. I take that back. He did Chain Gang before Super Patriot, didn't he?
No. That came afterwards. But before Super Patriot, he did a story in Dark Horse Presents, I think.
Okay.
I think, and it was like a sci-fi story. It was real rough, and so, man, when he did Super Patriot, it was like, wow, man, he was like fully formed at that point. It took everybody by storm.
Yeah.
But he's got some stinkers floating around out there, but not everybody's perfect.
That's right. We all do. That's for sure.
Unfortunately, I'm still making them.
Mark said he had his own book, Dark Shrine, but he said he inked a lot of Warrior Nun.
Oh, right. Yeah, I bet you if I thought about it long enough, I'd probably remember. I don't know if we were there at the same time, though. Dark Shrine. Yeah.
Well, guys, Jim, when you were there, was that had to be what then? If I'm piecing together what you're saying, like late 90s or?
No, that was like 2003.
Oh, so that was towards the end of Guys Jim then, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had moved. Adam wasn't even there. He had an office there, but he was working from home a lot because he was doing like Wonder Woman covers, and I think he was he'd just gotten with Allison, so like they were starting their whole relationship. So he was working from home a lot. And then right before that, I did a visit to Tony Harris and those guys at Jolly Roger Studio in Macon, and
cool.
And Andrew Robinson was there when he was doing Starman covers, those painted Starman.
Dude, those covers, yeah. I love his work. Ever since Dusty Star, I met Andrew back in 90, I want to say 97, I think I met him, 96, 97. And
days, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the Dusty Star, the one issue of X-Men that he did.
Oh, yeah.
You know? you're
He's
just
so
like,
good.
damn, this stuff is great.
He was one of those guys that kind of like, I remember vividly, he was doing one cover and he was drawing it out in charcoal. And then he asked Tony if he can borrow his watercolors. And Tony was like, it's charcoal. You're not going to be able to watercolor over it. And he's like, well, whatever, and he just did it anyway. And then, and it was brilliant. And Tony was just like, I don't understand. I don't understand. It's like, you don't know any better. And so it doesn't work for you. You just, it works somehow.
He did at Heroes Con probably a decade ago now. I'd have to look for him because I know I have the photos. He did on the art auction stage, he did a Conan painting. Andrew did, big, 24 by 36. And I didn't take the pictures, but somebody else took like progress shots of it. And I know I downloaded them, and just looking at the progress shots, like I said, I love his painting.
Oh,
I mean, I love his art style in general because it's so unique and stuff, but his painting technique, and because it's so mixed media and stuff.
Right.
And, I just look at it and try to like dissect it.
I think I'm sure he has like his methods at this point, but I think he's largely instinctual. So it's just like, as he's doing it, it's forming in his head, like, oh, maybe a little bit of something over here, maybe.
Right.
I don't know that he when I'm painting, or I used to, I'd make little thumbnails, the color sketches, and no, that's not right. I'd adjust the composition, and he's just one of those guys that just starts drawing, and then it's by the time he's down here, it's like amazing. Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
Jerks.
Brian's asking. He goes, "You've been doing incredible work with your independent work. Is there a mainstream IP that would be on your bucket list to work on?"
I don't know. Is Hellboy mainstream? I guess it is because it's got
I would consider
movies
it
now at this
in the
point.
Magnolaverse,
Yeah, I would definitely consider Hellboy if it's been made into a movie and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, Hellboy, Batman, I still wouldn't mind doing like a great Batman story as long as it's a good story. Maybe I can have a hand in like throwing in my 2 cents, but
sure.
I don't want to do one of those stories where it has every bad guy. It's like, so sick of those. Just tell me a good story. And so I still like, there's still potential in that character. I think would be sweet. But if I had my choice of like, if I could go anywhere, like I would love to do, like either 90s X Factor, or 90s X-Men that Claremont was doing. I don't know why, probably because it's some of the early stuff I was getting into when I got into comics, and it just had those poppy colors, and
dude,
nobody stood normal. And, you could like, I'll draw somebody standing there listening to something, but they would, like it was like everything was dynamic,
right.
Yeah,
Back
if they were having a
Jean
conversation.
Grey was Marvel Girl again.
Yeah, I mean, just it's good times. So it's like, I mean, if I could do my thing, it would be time traveling. I'd go back in time and get a little piece of some of that. Kick Art off of one of those books. Get out of here, Art. Let me do
That's
one
right.
of those.
Take a hike, pal. Have you ever thought what it would like if I could go back in time for like a week or a month?
Yeah.
There's always that saying, the grass is greener on the other side. I'd like to travel back to, I think, the golden age when it was the studio setups and stuff, like the Iger studios and shit like that. Just to see what it was like.
Real work. Oh my God. You got to be work.
I know, but then there's the other part of me that's like, but I'm a little pussy, and if I don't have good air conditioning, I complain. And it would be so freaking hot in New York back then, I bet, that I just would be like, what the hell? And then in the winter, I'd be freezing because, of course, it's just the opposite. Up in those studios, it's probably freezing as well.
Andy's out on the fire escape. Where's Andy? He's out on the fire escape with a board drawing.
Exactly.
He's under a weighted blankie, shivering.
That's right.
Yeah.
When George Tuska was in one of the studios, God, I can't remember who it was he decked, but there's something, he was in a studio working, and the story goes, and I read it in Tomorrow's Publishing put out a book on George. I think I read it in that, where somebody mouthed off or something, and he just got up, went over to the dude's desk and punched the guy or some shit.
Good old times, man, when guys were guys. I actually was reading Will Eisner's A Spirited Life
Yeah.
book, and he's got great stories. That guy has no filter, man. He just comes out with what he remembers, and he talks about like picking up women, like ladies of the night. I don't know, a nice way to put that. And he didn't know. It was like, I forget who the artist was. One of the other guys in the studio, like that was his thing, and he took him out. He just knew he was like working all the time. Took him out, had a great time with some ladies, ended up sleeping with her that night. And then later he's like, so did you leave her some money or whatever? And he's like, what? You know, he's like, yeah, you're supposed to leave her some money. And he's like, what do you mean? He had no idea what that was all about. He just thought it was like a friend of his, you know.
Oh,
That's a great book. He talks about, oh my God, that's the first time, like, I'd heard all these rumors about Bob Kane. You know? And I'm like, oh man, I don't know. I know people that really love Bob Kane, and I don't want to pass judgment or whatever, but straight from the horse's mouth, or not from the horse's mouth, but Will Eisner talks about him, talks about Kirby, talks about everybody in a very candid and honest way. And he pretty much calls him out. He's like, he doesn't say anything mean about him. He just says he's the type of guy that, just likes having the prestige of having Batman, but he doesn't really want to do the work, and he had all these stories. So it was fairly fascinating because I had no idea, but now it's kind of become common knowledge, the Bob Kane thing. But I don't know. They say that stuff about Stan Lee, but I love Stan Lee. I think, that's
it's difficult because you've definitely got
he helps.
I'm on the Stan team and I'm on the Kirby team, and I'm just on both.
I like both of them.
Yeah, same here.
I mean, I find it, when you read the stories about back when Marvel started, and now I have worked, when I first got into comics, I was working, Marvel method plot style. So I did get to do that, but I didn't do because I'm sure this ended probably still in the 60s, but how Stan would say, like, he had an artist come into his office and they would just talk about the issue. That's it. Just talk about it. And it was, Ditko's or Kirby's or, John Buscema, whoever, Don Heck's job to either take notes or remember and go home and draw it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I got to be honest, because I don't know if just after like a 15, 20-minute conversation,
Right.
I'd be taking copious notes, I guess, because I just don't know if I'd
function that way. You couldn't.
I don't know if I could function that way.
Well, I love that. That to me, that's my favorite part. I probably would have loved working with Stan that way because, like, that's my favorite part is when you're like, okay, I got this idea. I'm not really sure where to go with it. And this guy does this or whatever. And then the other guy goes, well, what about if you did this? And you're like, yeah. And then, you know what I mean? And you're just like, and suddenly the story just appears. When
I like creating that way. Like Dennis and I've done that. And my friend Rob that I did First Man with, that's how we talked about it and stuff. But even after, I like having it written out. So I have something to look at, to reference to.
See, I'm a role player, so when we get together,
private life stays at home, Dennis.
I'll have every seriously.
Jesus Christ!
Oh,
just go put your French maid outfit on. Why don't you?
No kink shaming here. Come on.
I'll get phone calls from the guys, and you're like, "Oh, I got this idea," and then what if we do that? And I'm like, "Well, what about this?" We literally can spend 3 or 4 hours just going over stuff, and then you got all this in your mind, and then you sit there and you put everything together. It's just a great way to do it, and it gets everybody on the same page, and then you just let your creative juices flow.
It's still so hard though, because like I do that just for myself, where I'm like, I'm thinking, and then the scene forms, and I'm like, yeah, and then you're watching in your head, you're like, okay, and then I start to write it down, and it's like, how the hell do I write this? Like,
right.
Cars going down street, and then I'm losing it as I'm trying to write it out, and I'm like, okay, you got to do it like in the moment, because I don't know, because it changes as you like commit it to paper, like it'll start changing.
Well, so that brings up a good point though. When you write for yourself, use the Barack Panther Trump as an example, I guess, or anything else you've written for yourself. Are you like a Keith Giffen type where that's how you write? You know what I mean, right? Keith
Yeah,
draws
yeah.
everything. That's how he writes. Or do
Pretty
you
much.
actually type stuff out to go by before you start drawing?
No, I have like a sheet of paper, and like I'll have like loose ideas for dialogue or scenes, and I'll just jot down some ideas, and then I'll start drawing it because it has to pace out visually a certain way. So I'm like,
Right.
you'll know real quick how certain ideas. Okay, I need 3 pages for that, but then that means this cliffhanger it'll be on a facing page. So if I want it on the flip, okay, well, can I move it over? Well, I'll have to add a page here. So
Right.
it's like I have a really an idea of what I want to accomplish, and then you're molding it into shape like a clay or something. You're watching it come alive in front of your eyes, and sometimes it sucks on some level too, because like you'll have great ideas for something, and there's just like, man, if I do that here, I lose this great moment over here, and then you have to make sacrifices. So it's like writing like any other thing, except that I like seeing it play out visually,
Right.
especially these days, because we got a real problem of visual storytelling that nothing really happens visually, and like you'll get through a whole book and it's like, well, there's nothing happening. So, and I'm like, well, gosh, when I was a kid, every page had like 3 scenes on it. Every
Right.
panel was like a different, cut. It was like a whole different scenario, and you can see, and there's people doing things in it. Now it's just standing here, headshot. It's just very exploded out. And it takes a lot of pages to do more stuff. So it's like I'm really wanting to like write it visually so that anybody reading my book, they don't have to read it. They can look through it and tell exactly what's going on visually, and even have a lot of extra stuff to look at. But then you'll get this whole other level of story where I'm writing down, feelings, emotions, all these other things, how the characters communicate these things that we can't see,
But that's how, I mean, to me, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
I went to the Kubert school, and that's what Joe preached. It was like, you should be able to look through the whole book and visually tell the story. Of course, like you said, the dialogue enhances it because, if this character's saying something important, well, you can't draw that, but you can get it across in the way they emote or facial expression or whatever. And it's funny because, like, for Christmas, my wife got me, God, I'm trying to remember the name of the company that's putting out the nice hardcover books. They've put 3 out so far. One with Spider-Man, one with Captain America reprints, and Black Panther was the third one. And they're you can get the trade paperback, or the hardcover has a nice gold leaf on it and stuff. And it reprints, the Black Panther one she got me reprints all the jungle action stuff. And dude, talk about, I mean, you just don't see comics like that anymore. The amount that they put on one page, you can easily look at and go, oh yeah, that's 3 pages today.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's those books were so much. Well, I mean, they're probably the same price inflation wise. I don't know, but they were. You got a lot of bang for your buck in the back in the day.
Let me grab this super chat. Deltaverse Comics, $1.99. Thank you very much. I love the comment. Menu was great. Best sleep I ever had.
So you texted him and said, dude, super chat.
I did not.
I know it. There's no way that. Oh.
My hands have been here the whole show. You're sitting right next to me.
Deltaverse, it's your brother. I bet it's your
phone
brother.
is right here.
Your brother.
Shut up.
Wow, this is going to go on. You know what? I'm going to wind up making a poll. I think I'm going to make a poll and shoot it out there this week.
God, what is with you? Your role play? Now you're talking about shooting out of your pole? Stop it. It's a clean show. We've got a guest.
It was a clean show.
The innuendo?
Was a clean show.
Good Lord.
Yeah, clean it up, guys. Come on.
Why we can't have anything nice?
I'm a pillar of virtue in this community.
I know. Should I share your screen? Because it looks like you popped something up there.
Yeah, you can. Well, we were, just in the middle of conversation. If we talked about somebody was asking about what Mike Barron and I are up to.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Let me shut you guys.
Yeah,
up.
so you're working on Nexus. I got the first one, which I thought was freaking awesome.
Yeah, so I'm doing there's 3 issues of that. That's the Nexus triplets storyline that we started with Zach with the first issue, but I'm finishing up the last 2 issues now, and that's gonna be all one trade, all 3 stories in one book, and we're gonna
So
crowdfunding that shortly.
So just to be clear, I've got the one, and then the next one, instead of doing singles, you're just going to do 1 through 3 in a book.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh, dude, I'll get that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you get the whole story, and then this one's from Dark Horse. It's called Nexus Scourge, and this is a graphic novel. It's like 48 pages, and having a blast with this one. I design my own spaceship as well for Nexus.
Oh, nice.
Because it started with Zach, and Zach sort of had this tenet. He was like, no retro. And I'm like, gosh, that's kind of what Nexus is all about.
I was going to say
that's Nexus.
And so I asked Mike, I was like, whose idea was the retro? Was that yours? And he's like, no, it was the dude. It was all the dude on the retro. So I'm like, okay, so I can maybe approach this closer to how, I don't know if this is how Mike originally thought of it, but I wanted to do something a little more like hard sci-fi, where the ships look plausible, but there's still a level of like silliness and playfulness to the way Mike writes. So you end up with things like this room that's like a giant fishbowl, which again is just Mike trying to add this stuff, and then he'll have like the scene where he's watching over this delegate, and he's got this like pith helmet on, and jodhpurs, and it's like, God, this is silly. But then I started reading the story, and it's like, okay, he's this diplomat kind of. He's a very powerful being. He's an assassin, but he's having to do all this diplomatic roles, all this stuff that he hates, and the only time he's happy is when he's with his family. And there's this sense of burden just being placed on his back throughout this whole story, and it just gets overwhelming until the point of like where it just breaks. So it's a really interesting story for the people that have read. Here's some like stuff in progress. Look at this madness.
Oh man, that is cool.
I didn't draw the guys back here. I figure it's all light back there. Just color it with light.
Wait, who's coloring it?
This one's going to be done by the Dark Horse people. So, which
okay.
Yeah, Richard Bonk who's also working with Mike Barron, did a Nexus story with them as well, and the coloring looked really good. So I'm pretty excited. I never get to work with colorists, so I'm always kind of excited to try it out.
That's cool. Yeah, Richards comes out in February. I think I have it on pre-order.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of destruction and whatnot. Cities crumbling and.
Dude, that's so cool.
Having a lot of fun with this stuff. Trying to see if there's look at this, man.
Look at that first panel. Holy crap.
Yeah, this is inside Headworld. You can tell.
I know we've talked before. Are you traditional or are you digital or both?
Both. And this stuff is digital. I tend to do digital, especially if I'm on a deadline, because like I can do it really fast. But then there's stuff that's hard to do, like circles and angle or curves. And I've got my tricks down, but man, I could do those freehand so much easier. But it just depends. Like, and I'm wanting to do more traditional stuff, just especially nowadays with the whole, AI thing going on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like, I love it because that means, I have something that a lot of these people eventually won't have,
right.
And that's the ability to do it by hand. So I'm wanting to do more of that, in the future, more by hand. And that's why I love doing Aaron's show, the Graybeards Studio with David Williams, Aaron Lopresti, and myself. We've been doing once a week these little draw streams. So it's great. I'm even doing like watercolor. And
I know. Wow. I saw that with the Devil Dinosaur.
Yeah, that was fun.
Dude, I don't know how you did like... He told me that he keeps the show to a tight. Well, I don't know how tight, but let me full screen you. Hold on. to 2 hours, and I'm like, 2 hours? Holy crap! That's freaking cool.
That is.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, my own.
That's pretty
my
vibrant.
own
Is that watercolor or is
Moon
it dyes too?
Nah, this is dyes. Yeah, this is.
Oh, it is
definitely,
just dyes. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's the only way you can get that like super rich color. And I was looking at a little bit of his Kirby's book beforehand, and I was like, man, I want these bright colors. So I whipped out the dyes. Like, let me go for broke. Yeah,
Oh,
and
man,
that piece is fun, by the way.
So I mean, I still have my set of dyes that I got in the Kubert school. Some of the bottles still have. I mean, I would never use them. They're 30 years old now.
Probably crunchy, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've thought about getting some again just to mess around, but
Crack
I just
it
don't
up,
have
man.
time.
Oh, I love it. I want to get to where like my pages are done like that way we do it on Aaron's stream. You know, like sit down and do a page, you know, draw it out, get the inks in there, and then color that bad boy, you know, and do it all right there, one sitting, page done, you know, and then you put the lettering on afterwards, you know, digitally. But I'd love to do the lettering too. That'd be great. But I'm no Todd Klein or nothing. So
yeah, I got God, I'm blanking on the guy. Oh, Nate something, I think, who's a letterer. Put out a book last year on lettering, a pretty good size, 144 page book or whatever.
Ooh.
One lettering that I bought, and I'm just starting to read it. I mean, I can letter okay in Illustrator, but like you said, I can't do like real tricky stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it just depends. Like I've gotten my style down to where I'm basically sketching. I don't like because I hated how I refined all the joy out of it, you know, by repenciling, tracing it off. And like I for the last couple of years, I'm just like, screw it, man, just go for it. I want flaws and all, because I look back at like old Wolverine with Silvestri and Dan Green, and that stuff is sloppy.
I love that Dan Green stuff over Silvestri.
So good. And it's
so freaking good. The brush lines he put down.
Oh, dude, it's the best. So I'm like, I went on a real tear like many years ago, like 10 years ago at this point. Time is flying, but I went on a real tear because I wanted to slow down. Like I was like, because of image and because of computer coloring and every artist continually one-upping themselves, we're at this point where we can't finish anything. And it's like, to be completely honest, I'm not that thrilled about anything I'm seeing. So like, give me 2 issues a month of Wolverine sloppy art any day, because they were doing, bi-monthly on a lot of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And his stuff looked fantastic.
Oh, it was so good. And of course, everybody, I got a lot of flack, but I think we've finally caught up to this point where you can kind of do whatever you want as long as your heart's in it, and it's like, well, I mean, I'm just going to do whatever comes straight from my soul, like I'm not going to put any kind of like, this will make money, or if I do this, or if I draw just the right size boobs, I'll make more money. No, I'm just going to, whatever comes out, straight from my soul. That's what I'm interested in now. Cause I didn't know that I actually had anything to say, it's like, is it just going to be pow, shoot 'em up, or can I actually put some character in there, And that's been
no, I totally know what you mean. I mean, on the Kor-Drath stuff, I'm just working straight to board, no digital stuff at all. I do my thumbnail just like I did when I, before there was digital. I would take out the script page. So when I print out a script, I always do 2 pages per one. 8.5 by 11. So, it does it landscape with the 2 pages. And then I do a thumbnail right below. And then after I do the thumbnail, I just take out the piece of Bristol, rule it out, and start drawing.
So, I mean, do you find that more spontaneity that way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the same, like you said, when it comes to inking, since I'm inking myself and Kor-Drath has kind of a rougher look to it.
Yeah.
I'm not penciling nearly as tight as I would for somebody else, So so I can do more drawing in the ink. Because, like you said, I can remember it was almost a 3-step process. I would do the initial sketch. I take my kneaded eraser, wipe it away, and then I would clean that up. And then after I clean that up, I might take the kneaded eraser and go, nope, that face isn't right, and finesse it even more. And then spend too much time doing perfect rendering because I didn't know who was inking the stuff,
Right.
And it was stressful.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I was just like, oh.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's like we were drawing everything 3 and 4 times, and I don't know. I just think there's a part, like I started watching videos. There's only a couple out there. One of Kirby. I just thought it was important to go watch how those guys worked. And there is a video of Kirby drawing like a Dr. Doom face or something. And, it's not that he's fast. He just kind of draws the right line he wants the first time, and he did erase a little bit. And then I saw John Buscema had one where he draws and then inks a Captain America. He's definitely a lot looser. He's more in my kind of wheelhouse of drawing, very loose and kind of gestural, and he goes for it. And then he just pulls out that ink brush, and there's just not any preciousness about it,
No.
and it has so much more life than anything I've tried to do, and it's like, I think that we need to get back to that kind of raw place, it's not, so just putting it on paper and it exists as it is,
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that about John, because I drew a page I was working on a few days ago. After I had it just initially roughed in, I was looking at it and I just got this sense of, holy crap. You remember in How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way? He was like, there's the scribble method. And and I'm looking at it going, wow, that looks just like that. That's cool.
The scribble method. Yeah, I do that 9 times out of 10, but my brain always thinks back to the Steve Rude sketchbooks. And he talks about it in the book. He talks about being in an art class, and he was doing that scribbling, and the art teacher walks up to him and is like, why are you doing that? He's like, I'm trying to find the line. He's like, and the art teacher's like, try to draw the right line the first time. Yeah. And he's like, that changed the way he drew. And that really, I start trying to do that. And then when I'm firing on all cylinders, man, every line, I could just line, and eventually it forms into this perfect image, and like it's got good body language. And I'm like, why can't I do that all the time?
I know.
Other times I'm looking and I'm erasing. I'm like, most times it's that way. It's just searching to find that one thing in your head. Why doesn't that look right? His head is weird.
Yep. No, dude, I tell you, there's just times you're in the zone, and then there's times where it's like pulling teeth. And, when I first got in the business, I was like, and I can still vividly remember having working on my first job and, having those struggles and stuff, but thinking to myself, after I've done this for like maybe 10, 20 years, it's just gonna be a piece of cake. Nope. Still have some of those days.
It's definitely easier. Like 9 times out of 10, I can have an idea, sit down and draw it. But then I get stage fright, something fierce. I see Ethan in the chat.
Yes.
Hello,
Ethan. Thank you.
He'll ask me to do something or another, and for me, suddenly I get stage fright, and I'm like, I got to do the best thing I can do. You know what I mean? Like it just depends.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Nexus. I get a bit of stage fright. I've gotten a lot more comfortable with it.
Sure.
But it means a lot to me. So I got to do it right. So, and then that's where I don't do my best work sometimes.
No, that's where the stuff stiffens up, and you're like, and you can see these, you had these battles on the page. And I know when that happens to me, the next day I'll end up doing a patch, redrawing something, whatever. And the best experience for me when I'm drawing at the desk is basically just not giving an F.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's weird because, in a way you don't want to we've got 100 people watching, and you don't want them to take it the wrong way. Like, what the hell? He doesn't care about what he's doing.
Oh,
And that's not it at all.
Mm-mm.
It's just trying to get out of your own head.
Yeah.
And just not think about it. I mean, one of the things, do you know who the artist Ron Wagner is?
Oh yeah. Love Ron Wagner.
Yeah. So I had Ron as a substitute in the Kubert school one day. And, it's that old adage of, and it goes for anything, perspective, anatomy, whatever, is learn it and then forget it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you're drawing a figure and you're just totally thinking about the anatomy and it has to go, this goes this way and this goes that way, and that, forget, you'll just screw it up, or it'll be too stiff and lifeless.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point now where I'm no longer thinking about style necessarily. I'm thinking about, what am I trying to say, and am I communicating that clearly?
Right.
Or am I giving enough information for them to figure out their own story with it, or whatever? And it's like less about that, because I mean, you can go look at Gru, and Gru is not nearly as well drawn as a Joe Mad piece on whatever, right. But to me, it communicates so much more with so much less, so it's just a battle of like, what do you want to do? Do you want to have like the best original art on the wall for the sales, or do you want to just really connect with the reader? Ideally, you want to do both.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about the stage fright. So, what actually causes the stage fright? Is it the material itself? Is it in a different type of a genre that you're not used to, or is it the enormity of the project?
Yeah, it could be the legacy of it. Like I'm like with Nexus, I'm adding to a legacy that exists. And I'd hate to be the worst one.
And the thing with Nexus is, and I'd probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
I grew up loving Nexus. I still have all the issues from the original run, but the complication with Nexus compared to like Batman or something like that is Nexus is Steve Rude. Yeah, right. I mean, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez did one issue.
Yeah.
Adam Hughes did an issue. Paul Smith did a few issues.
Yeah, great.
But there's still only a handful of guys.
Yep.
So basically whoever's looking at it is measuring you up to Steve Rude. Whereas with Batman, everybody has their favorite Batman artist because there's been so many.
With Batman, I had an experience like this on Dial H for Hero, actually. But with Batman, it becomes a different kind of anxiety where, am I going to stand out from the crowd? Not am I going to do a better one than Neil Adams, but am I going to have a Kelsey one? Will people remember my Batman? It's a whole other kind of anxiety in there.
Oh, no. Let me grab this. Deltaverse Comics, R99. Thank you. Rick Veitch's apprentice yelled at me if I sketched. Well, that's crazy.
That is crazy.
That's nuts. No, I've drawn Batman a couple times, never a full issue. It was basically like, hey, we need the last 7 or 8 pages. Can you do it? And it wasn't like a tight deadline. It wasn't like we need 7 pages over the weekend. They knew it was happening. So it was still, no, you only have to draw a page a day, whatever. And I was only doing pencils on this one. And there was like that stage fright because it was Batman, and there is, like you said, you want to kind of leave your mark, as in, this is how I'm going to do Batman. But, that was 7 or 8 years ago now. And I look at that book and I'm like, I would have, if I had it over to do now, I would do it differently. Because Batman's one of those characters. I've always been more of a Superman guy than a Batman guy.
Oh, really?
So honestly, if I was independently wealthy, I'd draw whatever I wanted. Yeah. But if I was in a position, let's say, to where when the editor said, hey, do you want to, we need somebody to do these last 8 pages of Batman. If I was in a position where I could have said no, because I didn't need the money for like doing 8 pages, I might have said no, because I'm just not a big I like Batman. I like reading Batman and watching it, but he's never been somebody I'm like, I got to draw. Superman, however,
there's literally a hot toy of Superman. You can't see it. He's just off camera here. It's like sitting right here, staring at us.
I think you do a good Superman. Honestly, I think you have that kind of classic.
Well, I've drawn him before, and I had more fun drawing
really?
Superman.
Oh, okay.
So
see, I would hate it. I would hate it because I would get all the details wrong. Like I'm like a.
See, it's funny. Guy. I'd rather draw Superman and Metropolis than Batman and Gotham.
Oh, I can hide so much stuff in the shadows of Gotham. I wouldn't. His legs could be all wonky. Nobody knows. He's shadows. Superman's got to have bright daylight, shining on him at all times, exposing all his flaws.
Well, see, that's a good point you bring up, because when I get a job, or when I would get jobs, I would kind of go, how should I approach this in regards to like an overall lighting? Mm-hmm. Because I would consider my stuff usually, I grew up reading, in the 80s. So, Byrne, Perez, stuff like that, where those guys kind of didn't have lighting. You know what I mean?
House lighting. I call
it was house lighting, like what we're in right now.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Even when they did Batman, Byrne did Batman, it was house lighting,
But see, I would always like clue into those one panels where they had the dual lighting, and I was like, whoa, every once in a while they'll have some of that in there. Byrne did it, a little here and there.
But so when I drew Superman, and Superman was the same thing, never a full issue. It was like, oh, we need some help or whatever. Mm-hmm. But when I drew it, my thought of Superman is, like you said, lit, very well lit, because lighting is like happy, So that's how I did it. But when I did the Batman for the few pages, I did do more shadows and lighting and stuff, because to be Batman should be dark.
Yeah, right.
And it should be moody.
Well,
and same with like a Doctor Strange. If I ever did a Doctor Strange, I would think the same way, which is, well, Doctor Strange should be moodier and darker, because to me, that just fits more.
I love the open stuff. I mean, they talk about that in film, like, comedy is bright lights, you could see everything. And then, drama, of course, shadowy or whatnot. But I love artists like Terry Dodson doesn't have a whole lot of shadowing in his stuff. No. It's very open line, and like, who else? Just the open line style. There's a whole thing in France, Lane Claire or whatever. I love that stuff. I wish I could do that. I would just straight up draw like Tintin if I thought I could get away with it.
Oh man, I don't have the. I did. I'm trying to think. What was the one thing? I thought I did one thing. Might have just been for myself. I can't remember. But if I could just draw like open line, and you can do this these days with the way the coloring is. Yeah, coloring. Where a lot of guys' stuff, if you take the coloring away, it looks like a coloring book, right?
I like that look, though. I like Rob Haynes.
I'd be a lot faster. I tell you that, sure. because one of the things that'll slow me down is thinking about lighting and stuff like that. But if you're just drawing total open line, okay.
I mean, I was part of a small group of guys trying to bring in that animation influence. I mean, you had Kari Andrews was kind of like the head of those guys. He was. I followed him a little bit. I was trying to do it. Batman Adventures was starting, and I was like, oh, I want my comics to look like that, and like Disney, and like animation. And then like Sean Galloway started getting into it.
Yeah,
and then he made it sing. He's the one still holding it down after all of us. Rob Haynes was doing it, but I don't know where Rob's at anymore.
I don't know what's happening. Yeah, I'm trying to think.
He's doing
last I heard, actually, Rob, I think, lives in this area.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
I actually went to his house out there at one point during the Heroes Convention.
Yeah, but I don't know what he does.
You in North Carolina?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what he does. But like that Daredevil he did.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Daredevil Ninja. I got that trade paperback right back there.
He did a Kid Amazo story, Kid Amazo JLA, that he's finished with. He wrote, I think Peter Milligan wrote it. And I only got to see a little bit of it because he felt he couldn't show it until the lettering was all on there.
Mm-hmm.
And which I can't blame him. He designed it to work with the lettering and the composition. So he wouldn't let anybody see it. And then it got shelved. And he's the type of guy that will never show anyone, even if and I doubt, like, even if they came to him and go, look, we were wrong, let's go ahead and put yours out. He'd probably be like, no.
No, it's too late. You had your chance.
I burned it all, actually. Yeah.
Right.
So, but he's the kind of guy that's like, he's not interested in, he's just another natural. And he's more interested in just enjoying his life than getting accolades for being the best Daredevil artist or whatever. He's just,
right.
There's nothing in him that requires that at all. And so he goes and does layouts. Like apparently he's been doing layouts for everybody from Sanford Green to, gosh, I don't even remember who. I worked with Sanford and him on one project for the Wu-Tang Clan. So, and I got to see his layouts, but like he just gets to do his storytelling without all the pressure of finishing the thing and having everybody look at him and what he's done. And he just gets to exercise that part of himself. And I'm like, I can understand a bit of that, just getting to be a storyteller. And
I can totally understand that, because to me, the hard part is the layout, figuring out the layout and design of the page.
Mm-hmm.
And once that gets down, and then the rest of the work is, basically adding the detail, the costuming and all that stuff. That to me isn't nearly as fun as the storytelling layout stuff.
Yeah, it's just got to round the horn. Come on, let's get it done. Let's get it done. That's why I try not to do too much finished at any given time. It's like, even when I do layouts, I leave a lot unfinished. And I'm like, okay, I know enough now. I know where I'm going to go with it. Right. And then even when I'm like inking, sometimes I'll like not finish stuff and like I'll come back to it in the coloring stage and like, okay, now I can see it. Sometimes I have to see it all together, and it drives people crazy because I'll end up working on the whole book at the same time, and I'm like, I don't know if this page is right until I do this page. So just sit tight. Let me finish.
Oh, see, I can't do that. I've got to do one. I have to work in order. I've never worked out of order. I can't do it. I mean, I shouldn't say I never have, because obviously if somebody's like, hey, we need you to draw 8 pages of Batman. Well, then it's like, okay, but I still take those 8 in order.
Yeah.
But I've never gotten a script where I was like, I think I'm going to draw page 18 first.
No, I never do that.
Yeah, I can't do that.
But I do go in order, but I'll draw like, and writers are terrible about this. So sometimes it's the writer's fault, but like you'll realize, okay, you'll get down here and you're like there's this golf bag that appears throughout the whole issue of Nexus Scourge. And I have to keep remembering, like when I'm drawing it, I'm like, okay, how big was it? I drew it too big in this panel, and I want to make sure it's consistent, because it's there for a purpose. So it's like every other thing I can let fall away, but for very story specific stuff, I can be really nuts about getting it right. Costume changes. I'm real notorious for every page. A character will change their appearance or their look. Their faces, they're off model. So I got really obsessive over being on model. But it takes.
No, I'm really
the whole book.
No, I'm really obsessive over making the characters on model, and
it's
even
hard.
like in Kor-Drath, where Kor-Drath himself doesn't wear a lot, but I'm real obsessive, like drawing the boots and going, the boot comes down like half calf. Yeah. And then the furry part of the boot comes down this specific distance.
We had whole conversations about, because he's got weapons and he's got a dagger, and the dagger's got to have a sheath. Where's the sheath going to be? How big is it going to be? Where is it going to be put on there? It's got to be on there every time. Adriana, she's got a circlet. What is the circlet going to look like? Does it ever get removed? If it's so, blah, 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 blah. It's all these little details. And he goes, because it has to be able to be shown from the very beginning of the book through the very end of the book.
Well, all those details are telling a story as well,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I've worked on stuff before, or I know people that have, where it's like, oh, yeah. And then, kind of like we're talking and you're just doing shop talk out to eat or something. And, a buddy's like, oh, man, I worked on this book where I got like 8 pages in, and he pulls a gun. And it's like, where the fuck did that gun come from? And that's obviously why we need to read the
Part of
whole script
time.
over before we start drawing. Even though Aaron will tell you, I don't know if he has, but for a while, Aaron was working on, I can't remember what book it was. You can ask him, and he was like, yeah, I didn't read the whole script. I just read page 1, then page 2, then page 3. And I'm like, dude, there's no way.
He said that. He said that many times. He's like, he even asked me, he's like, do you read the script? I'm like, yeah, a couple times generally.
Yeah.
And then I'll have it available while I'm doing the page. He's like, not me. I just start drawing. I look on there and I was like, wow, this. And I'm like, get out of town. That's amazing, actually.
No,
I'll get a phone call from Andy and he'll be like, hey, got a question for you. All right. So on this page and this page and this page, we've done this. But I think I know where you're going on this page, and this is what you want. And he'll ask questions. And I'd be like, no, that's exactly right. He goes, cool. I really wanted to know. So, and it's cool to follow up. So I know he's read through it because he's thinking about all these details. And he wants to make sure that his vision, the way he's interpreting what I put down, is exactly what I'm thinking. And it's good that we can just talk, hey, 5, 10, 15 minutes on the phone and it's all done.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing too is like, it's not as bad when obviously it's a 20-page book, but this is a 76-page book. So I've read it over a couple times, but what I do is, so I've read it over a couple times and I basically take it in 5-page chunks. So I'll print out 5 pages of the script. But when I'm working on, page 24, before I start drawing it, I'll read 25, 26, 27, and 28 again just to refresh my memory so I know what's coming up.
Make sure there's no gun that comes out of somewhere.
That's right. So
somebody's got Kor-Drath's got a gun in his loincloth, right?
That's right. He's packing, but it ain't a gun. Boom.
Well, it was just like one of the panels, and Andy had questions, and it was important that the axe had to be shown, for in a certain way in a certain part. So, all right, so if we put it here, what will it affect? This will it affect that? And then, so anyway, there's just so much, it's so much to it. I don't see how Aaron can just grab a page and draw it, but.
Well, after a while, you get used to the rhythms, and you're like, okay, this is going to happen. If this happens, and this happens, and this happens, storytelling has kind of like these hallmarks that you get used to after you've done enough. So he's pretty smart about story. I'm sure he gets it most of the time, but it's like he says that he gets caught where he has to go back and do details that he missed later. So it's like that's especially as a monthly guy, just fly through it, get it done. And 9 times out of 10, if you know what you're doing, you're going to get it right. And then you go back and hit those details, that you missed. But at least it's done at that point. So he was just playing the odds that he'd get it right. And I bet you he did 9 times out of 10.
When I did, one of the first jobs I did was Green Lantern Annual. And it was during the whole Eclipso stuff in the early 90s storyline. So it ran through all the annuals and stuff. Dude, it was a 56-page Green Lantern Annual. I'm about halfway through it. The editor, I can't believe I got halfway through it before the editor called me. And he goes, slight little problem. And I'm like, what? And this is like, my 3rd or 4th job in the industry. Yeah. I'm like, what? I was drawing. I'm a big Green Lantern fan too, but it just never occurred to me. I was drawing the ring on his actual ring finger, not his middle finger.
Oh.
So I had it on the proper hand, but I drew it on the ring finger. Now the lucky part
That's not too bad.
No. And the lucky part was John Beatty was doing the inks, and John and I lived like 2 miles apart. So I could just go over there and redraw it, and he'd have to white out whatever he inked or whatnot. So it wasn't like the pages were mailed somewhere, across the country or anything. But I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I just never, it's one of those things. I read Green Lantern as a kid and all that, and I just never thought about it. And so when I'm drawing the book, I was like, well, it's a ring. It goes on a ring finger.
It's like all those characters, even Batman, as simple as he is, when you start drawing him, you realize that, if you haven't drawn him a lot, your hand memory is so much about it. And, you're like, oh, well, his mask, his eyes, like I actually don't know how to draw his eyes. And then you got to figure out, how am I going to draw that shape of the eye? You know, same thing with
right.
Spider-Man.
And that's where it's a personal thing, because you'll see some guys that, and this is, well, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, it wasn't really in vogue as it is now. You know, back then it was still, how do I want to draw the eye shape?
Yeah.
But now you've got guys that are like, no, you can, if I'm doing a close up, you'll see his eyes through the mask. And it's like, no, I get it. They do that in the movies, but no.
Get your chocolate out of my peanut butter. You know,
get that out of there.
I don't want your realism invading my comics. Get out of
exactly.
town.
You know, it's like, how long, you know, and then it's like the scallops on his glove. You know, it's like, oh, I like the way that guy does it, but I also like the way that guy does it. Yeah. You know,
I like the way Beasley does it, where it looks like cut glass or something. You know, it just like, I like all these interpretations of it. That's what's great. I think we're
and you know, and when it comes to like Batman, when it comes to Batman, I like how, you know, the more realistic artist, the eye shape doesn't change, which is boring. I like it when it's like, if he's squinting, he's squinting. Well, the mask is squinting, and if he's shocked. The mask is shocked.
Brian Boland does very realistic stuff, and he still does the eye that way.
Yes.
Where the white moves up and down with his expression. So,
well, and I think that's the best part about guys like Steve Rude, Brian Boland. You know, I call them, they're cartoonists, but they draw realistic. Yeah. But they haven't forgotten that they're cartoonists.
Yeah, right.
You know? So they put the cartooning in, and it works with their, you know, their, what I say is stylized realism. Because when people ask, well, how do you consider your stuff? I go, well, it's stylized realism. Right. I wouldn't consider myself a realistic artist. That's what I consider like Alex Ross. Yeah. But I'm not a realistic artist. I'm stylized realism.
Yeah, there's like a part of me that, like, if I draw a spaceship, I know it's not plausible. It's not real. It's silly. But there's a part of me that still kind of want to make it look like it would work, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah, still like a plausible deniability.
Exactly. Well, dude, wait, Ethan popped another comment? I love it. I'm a dreamer.
There you go.
But your dreams come true, son.
But you're not the only one.
Toys. And you're not the
Everybody's a dreamer, though. We all have dreams. They're just all different.
I like to call mine fantasies.
Well, I'll have to do this show again because we didn't get to talk nearly enough about me. We were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about. What did we talk about?
What did you talk? We talked process.
Talking movies, and then the menu, and then we started getting into comic books and your background, and then we just took a left turn.
And then we just talked process.
That's my favorite kind of talks, where we just no rules. Let's just go see where it goes.
Well, you know what we'll have to do, because I thought of this after I posted that J. Scott Pike page. Is I should have a show with Kelsey where we just talk about J. Scott Pike.
We should do that. I'd
love to. You probably we'll have to set that up, because I got this issue of Heartthrobs that I went through. I think last week I did a stream on it where I went page by page of the story that J. Scott did in it, and just breaking down, you know, like, because his inks are just gorgeous and stuff. And
good.
And then I pulled out the showcase with Dolphin as well.
He does paintings and stuff like.
Oh my God! The dude goes from drawing comics to becoming a good girl pinup artist.
He reminds me of like a Dave Stevens type that's just naturally a fantastic artist and kind of comes in, does some amazing work whenever, you know, or Frank Frazetta, you know, it's like, you know, come in, do some comics, you know, and then you make like this lasting impression with your, you know, you just needed a job, but you made like a statement that lasts forever.
Yeah. Exactly. Let me answer this. World of Conan, that's a good question. Would it be possible to make the beanie an add-on for a t-shirt? You know what? We can actually do that, because the shirt does ship separately from the book for obvious reasons, because the book ships in a Gemini and the shirt doesn't. But I can make the beanie an add-on
I was going to say,
to the shirt, because it's two cloth things. So yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you for mentioning that. I will take care of that in the next day or so.
40% Zed and a couple of the other guys earlier had kind of mentioned, but we were in the middle of too much good talking. They were asking about, will this open GL issue affect Kor-Drath and our campaign? The answer is no. It will not affect it because the story is based in my world. It's not based in a set of rules. So everything that I've created, that's why magic works different. The module end of it, the only thing would have been is I was creating all of the IP, all the interesting stuff, and trying to turn it into a 5th edition module. That may change. It may wind up being old school, stuff like that. But all the story content that's going to be in the module, the comic book, they're going to go hand in hand. All the 2 stories are going to stay together. The only thing it might change a little bit could be the mechanics. The biggest thing is everybody's panicking right now, and I know we got a lot of people that have asked us about it through the website or whatever. It's not that big of a deal. It sucks the way Hasbro's doing it because they're taking 20 years of good faith and flushing it down the toilet.
Yeah, I'll pay you royalties when you pay Lord of the Rings royalties. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
It really is going to be a moot point for us, a moot point. It'll all move forward on there. It may just be a couple of mechanics for the actual module itself. It might not be SRD5. We may say screw it. But until we get the physical full original release of 1.1 so we can read through the now 9,000 word document, it's like I said, it's not going to change anything in the book or story or anything moving forward because I didn't base this story on game mechanics.
Should do it. Just go classic GURPS. Save yourself a lot of trouble.
Exactly. White box, something like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Kor-Drath, we'll end with a little Kor-Drath promo. Kor-Drath is live, of course, on Indiegogo right now. Just wrapped up page 25. Working on 26, 27, another 2-page battle spread. Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
He saw the pain today. Actually, it's fun. So another battle spread. And 5 backers away from 1,200 backers. We've got a bunch of different covers to choose from. You can go a la carte, pick whatever cover you like, add on a different cover if you want, so you can get more than one. You can get the Get It All tier that has all the covers and the artist edition hardcover oversized book that prints all the black and white, my black and white original art in color, so you can see all the smudges and stuff because my pages are down and dirty. I use a nice HB soft lead, so there's lots of smudging going on. You can click right here, read pages 1 through 8. It'll take you to Kor-Drath.com, and you can read pages 1 through 8 and see them larger than what you're seeing here on the Indiegogo page.
And then drop us a line. We've already had a number of people do it. Drop us a line, read it, see what you think. Always love to hear from you guys, and the feedback is fantastic, so love to hear it.
Yeah. So check it out. We are thankful to every one of you that have supported us so far. Thank you so much. If you've backed it, thank you. If you've backed it, go maybe grab a t-shirt if you haven't, or the beanie. And if you've backed it, share it around. Sharing is the best form of caring. That's what I tell my wife. Share, little hun. Come on. Talking about, dinner, that is. She likes to hog her dinner. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. So sharing is caring. So go check out. Link is pinned to the top of the chat in the description below. Randy Howell, of course, is doing a great job posting the links for this and for Bass Reeves. And I believe, is Nora Saga out there being funded right now? Or
I think it's closed, but you might still be able to get it at the store.
Okay, because I saw him post that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
What's it say? Are you guys going to have woman shirts? No, I mean, it's difficult.
What's a woman's shirt? Where like the holes cut out right here? Like
yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, You can go, go to Target.
The ladies
They've got
cut shirt. They're
the
usually
ladies
in a
cut.
V, and it's more tapered and
Yeah,
stuff like
no,
that.
unfortunately not, because there's a certain amount of shirts we have to print because we're going with a very nice printer. It's not like a print on demand service where you can go, oh yeah, just print one of this. You got to print them in bulk. And if we only have one or two, or even honestly, to be honest, if we got like 10 orders for a woman's shirt, that's not even half of how many we have to print. So,
and we wound up doing the metal shirt, which was the original one. And because so many of you really wanted the Bud Root shirt, with Lilith on it, we had to do the beautiful 11 color version of that. And, we can only do so many.
Oh, nice.
That's right. The Bud Root Lilith shirt you can get. Of course, they mentioned the beanie right there. So unfortunately, we're not doing that. You just gotta. Well, my daughter, for instance, loves wearing a men's medium. She cannot stand actual women's t-shirts because of how they fit. So, to each their own. And of course, there's the t-shirt with my art, very old school metal looking.
Yeah.
So
Love the metal.
Yeah,
Dude, it looks great.
Thanks, brother.
Metal. That's awesome.
Really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time, Kelsey.
Yeah, sure thing, man. It's been great.
Yeah, dude. It's what do we got here? Somebody's complimenting Norsag is great. I can't wait to see where it goes.
Thank you.
It is very cool. Randy's like, I picked up a set of shirts from my brother. Awesome, Randy. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Thank you all for joining us on this fine evening. I believe Dennis and I are going to go get some pizza.
We are. We're going to. I just dropped the link to the DNA show. Most of you are probably watching it on one of Andy's art channels. I also have the Dennis and Andy channel where we do our comic book reviews. We do stream on this, quick flips, full reviews, book and records, and when I unbox all the cool Star Trek toys and stuff like that. So make sure you guys sign up for the Dennis and Andy channel, which is separate from this one.
That's true. Dennis does a lot of quick flips and full comic book reviews. Stint, $5. Thank you. John Malin recommended this, so now I got to get the beanie. Also looks awesome. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. John is the man.
And since you brought that up, we will find a way to put it as an add-on because I think that's great. That is a great way to do it.
Oh, no, I'm adding that as an add-on. I'll probably do it tomorrow.
We'll put the stamp of guaranteed right on it.
That's right. That is right. All right, guys, we'll catch you next Wednesday. Kelsey, I'll catch you later.
It was great talking to you, Kelsey.
You too, man.
Live long and prosper, everybody.
Dennis is about to buy me dinner. Word.
Retribution! Oh yeah, we want retribution!